Good morning, Trinity. I'd like to go to James today. Through much of this year, I have been hesitating to say, let's look at the positive outcomes of the challenges of 2020. Hesitating not because I don't think we need to say it, but hesitating because sometimes, especially when people around us are experiencing real heartbreak for various reasons, we need to start by grieving or start by weeping with those who weep. But as we've kind of gotten our feet under us in this year, I think it is time for us to turn to James, to recall James 1 and what it says in verses 2 through 4. It says, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." Through a lot of this year, it has seemed like, oh boy, all of the trials of this year may leave our generation totally divided and weakened by that. This morning I was reading James 1 thinking, well, that's possible. But it's also possible that we become people who have real steadfastness because of it. That 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we look back on 2020, which was full of all sorts of trials. And they were testing of our faith in that it was difficult to figure out how to live this year, how to live 2021 as people of faith, and yet that will produce steadfastness. I've been thinking a lot about the generation we often call the greatest generation in the States, that grew up in the midst of the Depression, that went and fought and won World War II, that worked and made the United States a very materially prosperous country. And we look back on them and we say, we sure just don't have a generation like that anymore. Not mine, not others. But we're in the midst of testing of our faith. And James does promise, or James does assure us, maybe I should say, that we can count trials as joy because the testing of our faith produces steadfastness. And this may be a good time as we transition into the fall to think, what if God uses all the challenges of this year to make us people of steadfastness, to make us a generation of steadfastness more than we ever expected of ourselves, to face that with joy. And even though we can't control our whole generation or nation or world, to set our eyes toward navigating this time in faith in such a way that we would become people and communities and groups of steadfastness. And as such, that we could honor God in not only this season, but the seasons ahead.